guys, it's Ashley, and today it's time for my July wrap-up. I actually read more than I thought I would this month. I read 11 entire books. Most of them were pretty short because I was on something of like I don't really know. It wasn't really like a slump. It was kind of like a book hangover. The first couple books I read this month were so good, and then I think I was just kind of afraid that like I was due for a really bad book, so I just kept reading really short standalones, and I didn't come across any bad books until the one I finished last night. So I'm going to share those with you. The first book I read was A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I loved this book. I didn't expect to love it as much as I did, and I didn't even think that I loved it as much as I did until I kept thinking about it. I just loved it so much. If you have not read this yet, going into this book I really didn't know much about it other than it had multiple universes and multiple versions of London, and that there was this one guy who had the ability to travel between them. And that's really all I knew going in, and I'm kind of glad that that's all I knew, but I really, really, really enjoyed it so much. There's so much more to it than just a guy can go between different Londons. There's drama, there's action, there's maybe a little love story. I mentioned this book in one of my readathon wrap-ups, but I love the little interplay between Kel and Lila. I think they're the cutest. I want them to be a couple. I ship them so hard. And I was really excited when I finished this book and found out that it is not a standalone like I thought, but it is actually the first book in a trilogy series. One of those things. I know there's at least 2 more books, but I'm really excited that we get more of this book because I just really enjoyed the world. I thought it was really well done. I really enjoyed Kel and Lila, and I want more of both of their stories individually, and I hope together. And I'd also like to see more of his brother, and there's just so much in this that I would like to explore, and I'm really excited that it's not a standalone, that there will be more. Also, this was my first V.E. Schwab book, so I'm really excited to read more of hers. I know Vicious is one that everybody talks about, so I'm going to be ordering that when I get back from vacation. I can't say enough good things about this. It was just very, very enjoyable to read. I highly recommend this book. The next book I read was Seriously, I'm Kidding by Ellen DeGeneres. This is just a collection of essays where she talks about different life things and different humor things. I did not enjoy this book as much as I wanted to. I think I gave it 3 stars. It wasn't bad. I didn't enjoy it as much as I wanted to. It just felt too forced, too much funny condensed into this one book, and not even really just like funny jokes or funny stories. It was like the Ellen quips, the Ellen one-liners thrown in through an entire book, and it was too much for me. Next up is definitely tied with Darker Shade of Magic for my favorite book of the month, and probably both of them will be in my favorite books of the year. And this is Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. You guys, this book is freaking amazing. This is so good. If you watched my BookCon book haul, then you saw this book, and I demonstrated how beautiful it is and how the inside is all like different and stuff, and I had no idea what it was about then. So I'm going to give you a very brief recap of this book because I think it's best to go in not knowing a whole lot about it, because I think that just adds to the mystery and the suspense that's going on in this story. But essentially, Illuminae follows a girl named Katie, and it starts on the day that her planet is destroyed by an evil mining company. She gets rescued along with many other people, and then while they're on this spaceship in the middle of space, far from anywhere else, the mining company is coming after them to kill all of them, and she kind of steps up into the role of a hero. But what I really enjoyed about this book is that it's not just telling a story, it's telling a story through a lot of different mediums. And so you have security reports and security camera footage, you have emails and instant messages and really cool typography and things. All the swear words are blacked out because, as they say, the story starts with the deaths of thousands of people, but God forbid that we use some cursing. It's just really, really cool the way that this book is told. There's little things added in, there's things blacked out that you're left to wonder about. There's malfunctioning artificial intelligence, which is really cool. This is just a really, really well done book. I can't say enough about this. I was like halfway through and knew that this book was getting 5 stars because it was just fantastic. I did write a review of this on my blog. If you would like to check it out, I will leave the link down below. I will definitely be doing a book talk closer to the release date. This comes out not until October 20th, so I'm really sorry, but you can't buy it yet. But I will probably be doing the book talk sometime in August because I just can't wait to talk about this book more. I could easily go on about this book right now for a long time. And you can see I put a lot of A lot of stickies in this book to talk about, but that's for a different video. Just know, October 20th, you want this book. You can go ahead and pre-order it. I believe it's still on sale for like less than $10 for this hard copy. And this is just the arc. This isn't even the actual book yet. So trust me when I say you want to pick this up. Also, it's just the first in a series, which I'm really excited about. I don't know if it's a trilogy or if it's a series, but I know that there's more books coming, which I am so excited about. I'm really interested to see if they continue the storytelling that the way they have with all of the different medias, or if it's going to become more of a book. But either way, I'm gonna read them. It's just fantastically done book. Go check it out on October 20th. Go pre-order it right now. The next book I have for you isn't an actual book, so I'm going to hold up my Kindle, and that is The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. I was able to read this book through Pulse It, and I have to say I was kind of disappointed by that book. I know everybody loves it, they're always talking about it, so I was really excited when I got the chance to read it for free, and I did fly through it really quick. It's a really easy to read book, but it just didn't connect with me the way it seemed to connect with everybody else. I found Belly to be very immature. She was supposed to be 16, and I thought she was more like 10. She just seemed really whiny and bratty and immature in the midst of all these other things going on. I will say that it did keep me reading. I do want to know what happens in the rest of the series, so I'll probably read them at some point, but I'm definitely not going to be buying the series. It just didn't hit me that well. I just couldn't connect with the characters enough, and I just really didn't like Belly. I'm sorry. I know you guys all love it. The next book I read was A Noble Masquerade by Christy Ann Hunter. This is an art copy that I got from Bethany House through Library Things Early Reviewer program. This is a Christian romance novel told during the Regency period in London, and it follows our main character, Lady Miranda, as she is in her 4th season in society, which basically means she's pretty close to being an old maid because she still hasn't found a husband. Because every time she finds a man she's interested in, he's only interested in her money or land or whatever. And that's not what she's about. She wants somebody that she can love and be a partner to. She has always taken out her frustrations by writing letters to her brother's school friend, who she never actually met but always heard crazy adventurous stories about. So she would just write these letters as if they were best friends and pour her heart out, but she would never actually mail them. But one day, her brother's new valet finds a letter and sends it, and she gets a response. And they start up this weird relationship, friendship, romance maybe, through letters, but at the same time she finds herself falling for the valet, and so now we've got this awkward love triangle made more awkward by things that the reader finds out pretty quickly, and it's fantastic. I'm not going to spoil it because it's just, you gotta read it. It's so cute. I had like this awkward pit in my stomach the entire book, but it was the best kind of awkward. It was like the kind of awkward that you relate to, and Miranda's just a very relatable character, even though she's, you know, this Lady Miranda. She's still very relatable and just kind of awkward, especially around boys, and it's just so sweet, and I loved it so much. Plus, we get this whole subplot of government subterfuge and spies and all this really cool stuff that I just did not expect in this book. So I very much recommend it. I gave it 4 stars. A really, really fun romancy read. I've also really appreciated that it is a Christian romance, but it wasn't preachy. I am a Christian, but when I read fiction, I don't want a sermon. I'm reading fiction just to have fun and relax. If I wanted a sermon, I would go pick up a different book. But when I read fiction, I like the Christian themes, but I don't want it to be preaching at me. And this book did not do that, which was very nice. It just wove the Christian life into this story, and it was fantastic. I really, really enjoyed it. Good job, Christy Ann. I am definitely going to be reading more of your books when they come out. The next book I read was 24/6 by Matthew Sleeth, MD. This is a book about the Sabbath and taking rest time and what the Sabbath looks like in modern day times. Obviously, it was a lot easier to know what the Sabbath meant when everybody was wandering the desert or when everybody was farmers or did, you know, these hands-on jobs, but what does the Sabbath look like in our 24/7 world where there's so many different things going on? How do we follow a Sabbath in a godly way while still being part of this world? And he does a really good job outlining it. He shares a lot of stories from his medical practice on the importance of rest and what the difference is between relaxing and taking a break and true Sabbath. And it was just a really good book. Definitely recommend it if you want to enjoy Sabbath. The next book that I read was actually my very first audiobook, and that was Dubliners by James Joyce, narrated by Tag, who has a lovely Irish accent, which makes Dubliners even more enjoyable. This was my first audiobook. I don't think I'll be listening to many more audiobooks because I had a very hard time with it. When I listened to it while I was driving, it was great, it was no problem. I listened to this Irish voice while I was stuck in traffic and it was fantastic, but trying to listen to it other times in my life was just difficult. Trying to listen to it while I was cleaning up or something, I would just get distracted and would find that 2 chapters had gone by and I had no idea what happened. So I'm not a fan of the audiobook. I definitely want to read this book in book form at some point because I did really enjoy the stories that I was listening to. You know, there's a reason James Joyce is a famous author. It was a very enjoyable set of stories. I would definitely recommend it. The next book I finished was A Family for Tori by Margaret Daly. This book was just so sweet. This is about a woman named Tori who owns a horse farm. At the beginning of our story, she helps a single father and his daughter as the daughter is trying to recover from an accident that left her severely disabled, and the horses and Tori help her recover herself, help her recover her body and her mind, while also helping the dad find true love. And it's just really sweet. Both Tori and the dad are both struggling with different issues. The dad is struggling over the loss of his wife and over his daughter's injuries. Tori, we find, is struggling with the after effects of rape. Now, that's not a spoiler, it happens really soon into the book, but I do want to put that out there that it is a little bit of a trigger warning if you've dealt with rape or attacks, because she does talk about it, but during the book we also see some of her nightmares as she's trying to move on past them and sort of reliving what happened to her. So if that is something you have struggled with, you might want to avoid this one. Overall, I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was just really sweet the way that they came together and helped each other through their issues and helped each other overcome their problems. I thought it was so sweet. They were really cute together. Just a perfect book to marathon at 9 o'clock at night. Next up, I read Paper Towns by John Green because the movie was coming out and I had to reread it so that it would be fresh in my mind when I went to see the movie. I loved this book even more this second time around than I did the first time. I really enjoy the story. I know it's not perfect, but I really like it. I think it's a lot of fun. I went and saw the movie last Saturday and it didn't work for me. It did not live up to the book. They changed a lot of things for silly reasons. I really liked the book way more than I liked the movie. The movie, I just felt, even if you hadn't read the book, I felt like it was missing something. Like there was just some spark that made the book better that the movie didn't have. I think all the actresses and actors did a great job. That was not my complaint. They did phenomenal. I think the writing for the movie was just missing the mark and missing what made the book so special. But overall, the book, because this isn't a movie YouTube channel, this is a book channel. This book is so good. I think I gave it 4 or 5 stars. I just really enjoy it. I love the whole road trip aspect. I love him going on this search for Margot, but really it draws him closer to his friends and helps him see the world differently, and I just really enjoy it. I think it's just a fun book. Next up, Wyatt and Gannon, Ireland by Patty Wheeler and Keith Hemstreet. I got this book through the publisher. This book is on sale. Oh, it went on sale in March. I'm a little behind on my ARC reading. It was really a fun story. If I was younger, I would have really enjoyed this book, and I would definitely pick up this series. This is geared towards 9 to 12 years old, and I am very far out of that demographic, so it just didn't fit with me like I wanted it to, but it was just really fun. You know, for those people who really like Boxcar Children and like Bobbsey Twins or Hardy Boys, I think they would really enjoy this because it's got those same elements of mystery and righting wrongs, while also adding in the whole travel thing, which I love. Again, if I was younger, if I was more like 12 years old, I would be all over this series because it's not just one book, it's an entire series. It follows 2 brothers, Wyatt and Gannon, who travel the globe with their parents who have these cool jobs, and they do different things around the world. They learn different things, and they help right wrongs. In this particular book, there is a giant farm in Ireland that is poisoning the air and water and putting all the small family farms out of business, and they help to get it shut down by the EPA. Or, you know, the Irish equivalent of EPA, whatever that is. I had requested this because Ireland, and I'm obsessed with Ireland, so if you've got kids who are in the demographic of 9 to 12 years old, they would probably really enjoy this. You know, I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. Just not for my age. And the last book that I read this month was The Beautiful Bureaucrat by Helen Phillips. This book confused the crap out of me. It only gets 2 stars for me because I was halfway through the book and I was still asking myself what was happening, what's going on in this story. And then by the time I finished it, I still had no more answers. I mean, I had answers to what the story was, but I don't understand it. Maybe it's just me, maybe it's not my type of book. It felt like a short story to me, where, you know, you're just telling this one little story and then you end it and move on. It just kind of ended. It didn't really wrap itself up. I can't really tell you too much of the plot without spoiling the whole thing, so I'm not going to do that. But essentially it follows this girl Josephine and her husband Joseph as they move to a new city and start a new job, which is very mysterious and it's very boring, and she doesn't really know what she's doing at the job other than putting numbers into a computer. She starts to figure out what she's doing and things happen. Or don't really happen. It's just, I really didn't understand it. I finished it and I don't know what the purpose is. I don't, like, am I supposed to have a moral from it? Because I don't know what the moral of the story is. Is it just a weird, creepy story for the sake of being weird and creepy? Like, I don't get it. I'm really sorry. This book doesn't go on sale until August. I don't know when. It's on sale August 2015. That's what it tells me. But it was just very weird. It had these two random sex scenes that were like the least sexy sex scenes possible, but also they were just super random. The second one was like really rapey, and there was some random guy in a window. Like, just bizarre choices were made with this book, I feel like. Also, the whole thing with like the repeating words and word games was just a very odd choice to me. Even once it was explained of why it was happening, it didn't make sense to me, because that's not how things work. And I'm sorry I'm being vague, but I don't want to spoil things in case you decide to read this book. But if you've read it, then I think you understand what I'm talking about. That it doesn't work that way with the input, and it doesn't go that way. So I just found this to be a very weird book. Very strange, very odd. I don't understand it. It was a very quick book. It is making me think, but it's making me more confused and angry the more I think about it, because I don't get it. So if you've read this book, can you please explain it to me? Like, my camera just decided to stop working in the middle of that. Yeah, if you've read this book, please let me know what you thought of it. Let me know what I'm missing. Like, I understand the plot line, don't go into the plot, but I don't know. Just tell me what you thought of it, because I don't get it. I just don't know. So that is it for this video. If you've read any of these books, let me know what you thought down below. I would love to hear your opinions on them, but also on Illuminated, because I am in love with that book and I just can't wait to talk with you guys about it. Anyways, that's all I have for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you have a fantastic week, and I will talk to you later. Bye!